I don't think God put me on this earth to work hard. I think God put me on this earth to be an excellent vibe, to have immaculate taste, and to be kinda, but not extremely sexy.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy coming to you here, recording this on Wednesday night of this week, August 10th, which is Peter Parker's birthday. Also happens to be Ted Hollister's death day, as the main event today is Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. I guess, technically his death day is Halloween.
It's October 31st, 1988, Matt. Come on.
And he's been dead for many decades now. Pour one out for Ted Hollister,
Where's
by the way.
Halloween, the return of Ted Hollister.
The revenge of Ted Hollister.
And the curse of Ted Hollister.
The curse of Ted Hollister. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Mattitude Eric, I said. I actually didn't do the pun there. Mattitude Era. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello. How's it going, everybody?
Going pretty well. I saw The Thing last night at Alamo Drafthouse during they're doing their Summer of Carpenter series, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good movie, you know, The Thing from 82.
It's a good
Was there a
movie.
reason we didn't do that? Is that because we were going to do a Carpenter run?
Well, no.
I know we were excluding 82 movies that we might do at other times for franchise.
Right. Yeah, and that was my thing. I had suggested, and we still could, we could do 82 duos, which is movies that only had one other entry to them.
Right,
Blade
like Blade
Runner,
Runner,
The Thing,
yeah.
and Tron were my suggestions.
Yeah, with decades later
follow-ups,
sequels
yeah.
or prequels in the case of Thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because it just so happens that Alamo Drafthouse, if you are lucky enough to have one of those in your city, they're doing an 82 marathon as well. And I'm like, hey, we did it first, but they're doing a whole bunch of 82 movies in August. Thing falls into that category, but it also falls into their Summer of Carpenter, so it all works out.
I have to decide if I can.
Prince of Darkness, yeah.
I said last week that I am going to see The Thing at the New Bev soon, because we were all talking about going to see it at different revival showings, but now I realize I have to see if I can actually pull that off, because it's playing this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Problem is I'm spending all day Saturday at Disneyland, which takes out Saturday, but also realistically Friday night, because we have to be up so early Saturday. But I bet I could rally and do Sunday night. So I'm going to aim for it's The Thing and Body Snatchers from the 90s, which I like. With
Donald Sutherland? No.
No, not that's the 70s.
The 70s one.
Gabrielle Anwar is in the 90s version.
From Burn Notice?
From Burn Notice, yes.
And Scent of a Woman? Yeah.
She was in other things first.
I'm just listing all the Gabrielle Anwar things.
There you go.
She was Fiona Shaw on Burn Notice for many seasons. That show went, what was that, like 7 seasons, that show?
It was a lot.
It was one of the longer running Characters Welcome shows on USA. I reviewed that show episodically. Remember that?
Yes.
Before there was like 2 million TV shows, there were only 30. And of that, IGN only had an interest in like 15 of them. But yeah.
Yeah. I went to the set of Burn Notice and in Miami, Florida, and Bruce Campbell rode a bicycle onto the set. It was a great way for him to make an entrance.
And you're like, look at that bike riding loser.
Look at that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to try to razz
sunglasses
Bruce.
Just so I could take them off to go, what?
As I already mentioned in our main event today, Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. A very, very fun, Eric and I will get into it later, theater-going experience for both of us in middle school. One of the best, I think, horror movie. Everyone was just so ready, wanting everything about that movie. And again, coming out of that, we always have the discussion, was it great or was I just 8? Which is like, there are things that are there. It's not a great movie. I mean, I'm willing to admit that.
No.
It holds a dear place in my heart. And I'm reminded of this because someone on Twitter, I can't remember who, was struggling to get through it, I believe, and said it was boring.
And to us, that's like, we can't fathom that. But I also understand that, like, were I to watch Halloween 4 for the first time today, my experience would be different. But look, also, it's about how, like, all in you are on these franchises. Look, the Friday the 13th series is littered with movies that I understand away by themselves are not good movies, and yet I love them all.
Well, here's the thing. No, exactly, because right now we're getting into, after 1 and 2, because 2 picks up the same night as 1. All these movies just involve him coming back to the town to kill people. Like there's no, actually, the part of the movie later on where they like leave Haddonfield, I was like, wow, you're actually not in Haddonfield anymore. This is crazy. We'll get to that later on. But first, we've got a bit of a WB roundup news stories here, little odds and ends, bibs and bobs. We've got, you wrote here, Ezra Miller filmed Flash additional photography, because the only Ezra Miller news I heard this week was that they were being charged with felony burglary. As well as their other legal troubles. So I don't know what this
is a multitasker.
Now, he's like, I can be charged with the felony and do reshoots.
That's the crazy thing. This was part of a THR article that was just kind of like a, what's going on with WB's DC stuff in the wake of the Zaslavian era, and everyone being like, what the fuck, including, filmmakers working there. And, it was talking a bunch about things that was going to, like, they wanted to do a Crisis on Infinite Earth movie that's probably not going to happen and all these different things. But in that article mentioned how Ezra Miller this summer came and shot, pre-scheduled again. These things are long scheduled these days. It shouldn't mean like anything's wrong with the movie. That the long scheduled additional photography in The Flash, Ezra Miller came in and filmed stuff for while on the run, being arrested, all this stuff. And it just, A, that's just a crazy thing in and of itself. And B, it's also it inspired my tweet today about like, at some point, is anyone at WB Discovery going to address this? Because I understood a few months ago, right, when all the stuff started to bubble up about Ezra Miller, there was immediate calls to replace Ezra Miller, to reshoot all these things. And I said, look, not only is this like an insanely huge thing that if they do it, I can understand them not making any big decision in the moment. But now we're months later, and just the fact that it hasn't even been mentioned, it's just all we hear is they're really happy with the movie. The movie's supposed to be good, which it's nice to hear the movie's good.
If this movie didn't have Michael Keaton in it,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like they would take it back to formula. Honestly,
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Do you think the reshoots were Ezra Miller looking in the mirror and all of a sudden they look like Grant Gustin and they're like, oh shit,
yeah.
and it's like that's how it ends. And it's like, I just look like this now. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, just a wild thing. Just because it just hasn't been addressed at all. And I know that they kind of want it to go away. They want Ezra Miller to stop being in trouble. And they are, quote unquote, lucky, because I understand also that Ezra Miller is not actually a huge celebrity. Like, Ezra Miller is way more Twitter famous and has been in big movies, but it's not like a tabloidy, like, people wouldn't know on the street. My mom wouldn't know who Ezra Miller is.
Right.
Which has stopped them from getting...
Even though they're an Oscar winner for The Flash entering the Speed Force?
Yes, even though it's the most popular scene in any movie ever, and that was voted on just by humans who loved that movie,
who love cinema, Eric, who love cinema,
yeah,
and the history of cinema, and all movies, really, every movie that was ever made.
What a year!
These people saw. So I'm just saying that not all of us are Oscar Twitter winners. I don't know what the award was. I can't remember.
Best thing ever. I don't know.
It's funny because going back, we already dunked on Zack Snyder's Justice League enough when we did our special breakout episode. But even that part, if you had to tell me that, like, you'll never believe what scene got pulled from that movie, I don't even know if I would think of that as far as like a crowd pleasing moment. But I guess it's the climax or whatever. So there was all these other like sort of additional things regarding, I think probably nestled within that same bit of news that you were talking about, because there are projects coming out of the
Blue Beetle
era,
thing was definitely in that.
Well, like Blue Beetle, and so right now apparently the Blue Beetle movie and multiple James Gunn projects, including Peacemaker season 2, are safe, while like Static Shock, Green Lantern projects, Black Superman are all like unsafe or like or like on the or in danger of
taken out
not
of
moving forward at all.
Yeah. Supergirl, that was supposed to be like a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of this comes, with everything that was going on with HBO Max, with them like secretly removing content, even exclusive content that they had themselves, came news that season 3 of Pennyworth was dropping on HBO Max, retitled
Yes.
Pennyworth: The Origin of Batman's Butler, which
it sounds so fake. Like people
it
pointed out
sounds like
that
a
it's pretty much a
parody.
joke in Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Have you seen that yet?
No, I hear it's
forget.
wonderful. Yeah.
There's a very, and I kind of remember there is a very similar title because the whole thing in that movie is Robin's pissed that he's not getting his own movie. He feels like it's his time. And I think there's a joke about like the adventures of Batman's butler or something, Alfred, or something like that.
Okay, so we're talking about Person on the Street or Eric's mom, not knowing just, Ezra Miller by name.
Yeah.
Most people don't know Alfred's last name, or even
Right.
Alfred. You're like, who's Batman's butler? Maybe they'll say Arthur. Maybe like, somebody who's just cursory knowledge of Batman and DC won't know this, much less Alfred's actual last name, Pennyworth. We live in a world, and we have subscribers and listeners here on the podcast that know who Pennyworth is and can have a TV show called Pennyworth and know what it's about. Most people don't know that. We have to sort of step outside of our nerd bubble and realize that. But given that, the title is absolutely ridiculous, and
it's hysterical. Because
so there were a lot of jokes on Twitter today about like, Vichyssoise, the suit Batman was confused by, but then came to like. Yeah.
It's just like, obviously I get at the most mercenary level why this title was chosen, which was first and foremost to get the word Batman in there. So when people search Batman on HBO Max, this show will come up, and it'll, for SEO and Google and stuff, it'll come up quicker. It's just funny that they didn't even try for like Batman Chronicles : Pennyworth or something. Just the origin of Batman's butler. It's just like the weirdest, because especially because if you told someone, hey, this show's about Batman's butler, they go, what the fuck? And then you might try to go, oh, actually his backstory, he's got this military background, he can fight. You're trying but this title takes that all away. This title makes it sound like the parody, like
even
it's him learning to be a great butler.
Even in the Batman, when Andy Serkis was playing Alfred, he said, reminds me of my days in the circus. Now the circus is British intelligence, like it's not the actual circus.
Yeah, started the live action version.
He's not one of the Graysons. He didn't actually come from an acrobatic carnival. So I'm just surprised they don't call it Batman's butler. Like if that's the case, just call it
right.
Why at this point it's way too wordy, and you could just call it Batman's butler.
Young Batman's butler,
or how Batman got his butler. But you never see Batman. So okay. Because you see his dad, right? Aren't the Waynes are characters, right? I believe. I've never
Yes.
Pennyworth.
Thomas Wayne is one of the main characters. Yeah.
All right.
And I will say, I believe I read that season 2 involved Martha getting pregnant. So it's like, ooh, the fetus man might have arrived.
All right.
Origin of most origins.
Let's stick with streaming services here, and just add on to this that Disney Plus has announced that they will now, or they're raising their rates to, what is it, $10.99, and but
$10.99 for the version
for the ad-free
no
version.
ads.
Yes, and now they're adding an ad version called Disney Plus Basic, where that's cheaper and comes with ad support. And I don't know.
Well,
how
it's the price
ads,
that
it's the regular price we're paying now. So,
right now,
the
two things we have to keep in mind here, which is that so many of us are about to run out of our 3-year deal where we got it really cheap
in like 2 months, right?
If you yep. And so of course this is happening now. And then the other big thing is, flat out, they're like, this is happening because they want to be profitable, because Disney Plus, like all streaming services, has not been profitable to this point.
Right.
It's just been trying to gain subscribers. And so they've thrown all this money at programming to gain subscribers. But now it's like, ooh, we actually have to turn a profit, which has hurt Netflix very bad this year, that realization, because they have had a lot longer time to rack up debt and not be turning a profit. Now it's Disney Plus's turn to be like, hey, we should make some money. I will say, Matt, it's just, we've talked about this before, the generational divide here about like, I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like pro commercial. I'm not like, yay, commercials. They annoy me too. But there is definitely that generational divide of just it's unfathomable to certain people. So there was so many people that are like, why would I ever pay for something that had ads? Now, of course, the answer is to get the cheaper version of it. And also, you and I, just as people who grew up not only with cable being wall-to-wall commercials and you paid for cable, but I'm just even thinking, I buy a comic book, it's filled with ads. I bought a magazine, it's filled with ads. So the idea that like I paid for this, therefore there should be a pure experience is not just, we just weren't raised that way.
Well,
but now people just don't want anything in the way of what they're there to consume.
Every year we are growing new humans who are less and less capable of being alone with their thoughts for more than 10 seconds. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just stating sort of fact,
and I'm also saying I understand
which is that,
because,
like, a magazine and newspaper ads don't take up any of your time because you don't have to read them. Like if you're forced to, like, you can't go to page 3 unless you read this ad. Like it doesn't work like that. So commercials though take up time. They'll take up 30 seconds, or 2 minutes or whatever, however the chunk is. And so people hate them at the beginning of videos. They just want to get to it. And it's as content has become easier to get and has become instantaneous, and as Netflix disrupted the entire system by releasing all TV shows at once, we're dealing with people who don't like waiting a week between episodes because they want what they want now. And I don't know if they see that week as like wasting time. Maybe they do, but I know they see commercials as wasting their time, where you just sort of have to sit and either think your own dumb thoughts and live your own manic monkey mind, or you have to actually engage with the commercial and listen to what the advertiser has to say and see if they can sell you a product. We're used to it. We're conditioned to it. Some people are not. And some people don't want this to take a minute. And they're just that impatient. And it's just sort of the way that they've been raised with content. I don't necessarily fault them for that. I just think,
I don't either.
It's a generational thing. And the fact that,
Yeah.
and we've mentioned this already on the podcast, I believe, which is that how everything just moves backwards, where it's like Netflix was a huge disruptor, but now more and more streaming services are just moving back into the model of television, which is weekly with ads and all these different things. And so
Netflix is about to add their own tier with ads, I guess my main thing here is this is not in defense of ads, and it's not a you shouldn't be annoyed by ads. It's more just an observation. Look, I mean, Trish, who is our generation, hates ads more than I do. Like, she's watching Project Runway All Stars right now, and she got super annoyed because some of the seasons are only on the Roku channel, and Roku channel has ads. So
there are some services that just come with ads. Remember, DVRing was a huge thing for us because you could then, even though it took effort and some time, you fast forwarded through the ads, right? Yeah. Like you could skip the commercials. You'd have to physically pay attention to it. Like nothing would do it automatically for you. You would have to hit the fast forward button. But still, it was still a big boon for us, and something that was sort of revolutionary, where it's like, what? I know advertisers weren't happy about that. And then you got to points where you couldn't fast forward ads depending on how they set it up. But I
guess I'll just say that, as someone who doesn't like ads either, and by the way, will always pay for the more expensive version without ads because I don't want those ads. My only thing here is I guess I would just point out to people that there are some people who it's not the end of the world for them. And that's why this option exists, and why it's about to exist for every streaming service, for Disney Plus and Netflix, is because these streaming services are right to count on a couple things, which is a shitload of us will pay extra to not have those ads. But then there's a lot of people who were like, I don't care, it's fine. And they'll pay for the cheaper version to save a few bucks. And both of those are fine.
The other thing that you and I grew up with in this weird tangent of ours or mine actually, that I'm just sort of starting, which is that like I'm also used to just having a movie on cable, like a Turner station.
Sure.
The full movie, which I may or may not have seen 100 times already, and I may or may not own commercial free on some other physical media like DVD or Blu-ray
Right.
that I could put in and just have on in the background. I will still leave the channel on with the commercials.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because I'm too lazy to get up and actually switch it over into some sort of player. But and then there are times when like I'm on Vudu looking at what I already have in my Vudu catalog, but then also checking out what are their free movies that just come with ads because I don't care.
Right.
You know,
right.
I'm just saying we're better fit for this world, Eric. You and
I guess that's my main point, young people. Not that you're wrong to be mad at ads, but that we're better because we don't get mad. No, I'm joking. I do think that is the difference, though. It's just just like it's super annoying to me too. But it's not like unfathomable to me, is but I understand for people who just didn't grow up watching commercial television, it's just like, what the fuck is this? Why?
Yeah. All right. And then very quickly, and this is maybe just interest only Eric and myself and we probably have some listeners who are Cobra Kai fans, but Cobra Kai, if you didn't know, is actually coming in September. Cobra Kai season 5. So usually we expect it around the holiday season, like the end of December even. And now it's coming September 9th. And as we creep closer and closer, Eric, to the white whale that is Hilary Swank, Oscar winner Hilary Swank. And that's not to say we can't throw in like people from her movie, like Michael Ironside and even Walton Goggins, if he wants to do a goof on his kind of nothing character from that movie. But Sean Kanan, I guess, is officially back in season 5 of Cobra Kai, reprising his role from Karate Kid Part 3 as Mike Barnes.
The bad boy of
karate is back. And he's the I think like main principal actor wise, the last one to get before Hilary Swank.
I would say he's the last. Like we can talk about.
I'm saying you can't go into season 6 with no one.
That's true. Right. They still haven't announced when this show is ending, but I assume season 6 will be the end. I could be wrong, and they could do a season 7, but it just feels to me like they'll probably do season 6, and that'll be it.
Which is long for a Netflix show, even though it didn't start on Netflix.
Right.
So yeah.
But that's a huge caveat, because Lucifer also got to season 6 by being a already popular show they acquired. That's how you do it these days. Is if you're an established, because as we talked about, they're not in that game anymore of like we save. But when they do it once in a while, which is because they have the numbers, with Lucifer, they already knew Lucifer did great for them. With Cobra Kai, I think they were right just instinctually, like, I bet this could really do well for us. But if you have an audience already excited about the show, then you can get that extra season out of Netflix. Because they will never order any more 6 seasons of a show that they started. But if it came from somewhere else.
Speaking of Lucifer, have you been watching Sandman? Have you caught any of it yet?
I have not caught any.
It turns out, Eric, there's a lot of content. So
yes,
you probably haven't caught any Sandman yet. I have actually started Sandman. I'm on episode 8 out of 10, so I haven't even finished the season. But still, that's pretty good for me, considering that within 1 month's time, we are getting 3 massive sprawling fantasy series with massive ensembles. So between Sandman, House of the Dragon, which is at least weekly, and I believe The Rings of Power is weekly too. Is Amazon doing that? Yeah.
So I don't know if they're doing like a
Rings of Power though has an even bigger cast than House of the Dragon. Which is crazy, but
it's an insane cast. I just want to say
yes, they are all also clinically insane.
We can move on from Cobra Kai in a second. I just want to say that Sean Kanan has had a very successful career as a soap star, and a lot of people were joking on my timeline about, like, you say Mike Barnes, I say AJ Quartermain, which was his General Hospital character, but he is currently a cast member on Bold and the Beautiful, a show our friend Adam
Bold and the
writes
Beautiful.
for,
Sorry,
and has been on it off and on his. Yeah.
Your internet's going in and out occasionally, so I'm gonna say our listeners. He said "Bold and the Beautiful" because
Bold and the Beautiful. Oh, sorry about my internet. Yeah, it's been wonky tonight. But he's been off and on that show since the year 2000. And I'm fascinated, Matt. There's such a whole world we don't know about, with like daytime soaps, for instance, because I see that his character on Bold and Beautiful is Deacon Sharp. But I also see that Deacon Sharp is his recurring character on Young and the Restless. So I guess it's a shared universe.
No, it is.
Isn't
Bold and the Beautiful a spin-off of Young and the Restless, Eric?
I don't know. This might be totally. I think you.
How would you not know that, having lived with Adam Dusevoire?
Because we talked about Days of Our Lives back then.
I do believe they are
they are called sister shows according to Wikipedia. So yeah.
Okay, and also, but also that weren't they one of those weird shows, soaps that were 30 minutes?
Bold and Beautiful definitely is 30 minutes.
Because I think they created like a block of like shared universe, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, obviously, because it's not my
Think
not
about
my
how
world.
much more of that shared universe there is than the MCU. Like they'll never catch up.
No, never.
Deacon Sharp has had so many more adventures than Captain America.
I wanted to mention, since we're talking about soap operas, only because we brought this up on the podcast, because we're talking about those Australian soaps that a lot of Australian stars came from, and a big one, Neighbours, just had their series finale, right?
Yep.
And bringing back Kylie Minogue, Guy Pearce, and I believe Margot Robbie.
Yes.
They all came back for the finale of Neighbours. And I think the other show was Far and Away. Was that right, Eric? That people were on, like Hemsworth and... It's
something. It's not Far and Away. You're thinking of the Nicole Kidman.
I think it's the same title. No,
is it?
Away.
I thought it was something similar. Home and Away.
Home and Away. You're right.
Yeah, that's the other beautiful Australian stars come from.
We can ask Ben from Australia, since Ben wrote in again on our Patreon. And so let's shift over to our our listeners here who have written us. And Ben writes back on Patreon. Ben, we bumped and called him Australians Lindsey Buckingham because we bumped him twice. Ben said, I've been a fan since the beginning of channel surfing, so to get bumped twice and somehow become We Enjoy's Australian Lindsey Buckingham was an honor. Ben wanted to clarify who Jacko was. Last week, everyone, Eric and I were doing jokes about Michael Jackson and the fact that the Daily News would constantly call him Jacko in headlines.
But we were merging it with
we merged it with Jacko, who was an Australian star. And I guess, so what Ben says is he was an Australian rules football player before he got into acting. So he was kind of like their Brian Bosworth, right?
Right.
I think he was more popular in the US than he was here, Ben adds. That's entirely possible because we had the Energizer commercials. I don't know if they actually even had them over there. And then we had The Highwaymen, which is the short-lived Mad Max style TV show that he was second banana on.
Yep.
And then Ben adds, thanks for answering my questions. Australians are reacting a little differently to the HBO Max news since we don't have it here. HBO content was licensed to Australia's main cable company years ago, and the newer Max content has been picked up by an Australian streamer called Stan. So we have 2 subscriptions to get to see what you guys get with just one. Thanks for the podcast. Jason also writes in on Patreon.
Wait, I just want to say about that. It just, I think we mentioned this before, but yeah, HBO Max is in surprisingly few countries. And I remember with Peacemaker, it was a real issue of like, when and where will Peacemaker air? It took a couple months for them to find like an outlet because they have to sell their shows separately there. And it was mentioned in maybe THR, one of these articles, as we talk about next year when they're going to finally merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus, there's the question of what will they call it? And there's everyone's like, will they just keep the Discovery Plus name? Will they just keep the HBO Max name? Or will they come up with an entirely different name? And it was pointed out, and this came up, I know, when they chose the HBO Max name, that one of the many reasons it was a little surprising they chose HBO Max is because the name HBO has way more significance here in America than it does elsewhere because the brand never really traveled the world.
Yeah, the brand is strong here. It was like the first absolute excellent premium cable channel, and for a while, for a little while, it was neck and neck with Showtime. They were sort of mentioned in the same breath, but then HBO sort of overtook that with really stellar original programming that ushered in the golden era of television. So yeah, that's not everywhere. That's just here.
Right. So who knows what they will call this new merge thing as they want to, get into more countries with it.
Let's see. We could do a poll on Patreon for that. What do you want to call the new HBO series? So we have a couple more Patreon messages and then an actual email. These next two Patreon messages are about Predator. And since we talked about Prey last week, it was Eric's good thing to enjoy. It's actually also Hulu's most, successful original movie ever, which is not surprising. And with Prey came a lot of talk, and not just Lauren, who wrote in here on Patreon, but other people on Twitter and saying like, this should have been in theaters. And I think we kind of addressed why it wasn't, but if we want to talk about that more too, Lauren writes in, hey, Matt and Eric, hope you guys are well. Since Prey has been getting positive reviews, you think it should have gotten a theatrical release, or was streaming exclusively the ideal way? You think it might have been number one at the box office this weekend over Bullet Train? Keep up the great work with the podcast. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah. Lauren's a longtime channel surfing listener too, so she's gone back. So we appreciate your query here. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about how like this should have been in theaters because obviously it's a great movie. It would play
so
well
received.
Yeah, and like people want to see it on the big screen because it's awesome action and the spectacle, and it just works. But also in this world, like streaming was the way that this movie got made. And I think that's what you touched on last week.
Yeah. That coming off notably, unsuccessful Predator 4, The Predator, this movie getting made 4 years later is because of, streaming being an option. On top of that, this is when you get into all sorts of, the weirdness of it all is the whole HBO Max deal, which is if this movie opened in theaters in the year 2022, then HBO Max would get to stream it. Because again, we've talked about this before, HBO made a deal with 20th Century Fox years ago that every single movie released from under that brand would go theatrically, would then go to HBO or HBO Max through 2022. It ends with Avatar 2. So if Prey had opened in theaters, Disney would have been forced to let it go on HBO Max. They could have made a deal like they have with a lot of the recent stuff to also put it on Hulu, but then it would not be exclusive to Hulu.
Right.
So, then you could get into, well, could they wait till next year to release it? Maybe. But I guess I would just say that I completely understand why people are like, this deserved to be in theaters, because I also agree. And I in a perfect world, it would have been.
I mean, and you've gotten to see it in theaters. So yeah.
Yeah. 3 times. But I'm very lucky in that respect. But yeah, I also know that there was a lot of very big factors why it didn't. And actually, to her question about could it have been like in the world where this opened in theaters this past weekend against Bullet Train, first of all, I don't think it would have. I think they would have waited a couple weeks because August is pretty light after Bullet Train. But say they did open against each other in theaters, I don't know. I think Bullet Train might be winning that battle just because Brad Pitt, star power,
I do too. I think Predator would have had good legs because
the word of mouth would have been great. Yeah.
But again, you get into also and this is shitty in 2022, you get into female-led action movies. You get into this is taking place hundreds of years ago, and it's Cherokees, and it, like things that Comanches, sorry. Things people wouldn't consider to be marketable, even though it's an awesome, amazing movie. Mm-hmm. So, in the realm of like Marvel movies and blockbusters dominating at the box office, which, to be fair, this is the stuff that Martin Scorsese is actually really talking about when he's saying that the MCU isn't cinema, or like when Ethan Hawke speaks up about how like there's nothing wrong with these movies except for the fact that they have pushed out.
Is it taking away room for anything else?
Exactly. And this is a smaller film, respectively, like as far as like, there's effects and action and stuff, but it wasn't like what was the budget? It didn't cost $50 million or anything like that.
No, I think it was about 40, but I think that's
but Bullet Train, I'm assuming was all. By the way, I had a blast with Bullet Train too. I saw that in the theater. Very fun movie. Assume that was way more expensive, and also huge star power and a lot of cameos and a lot of relative unknowns. Amber Midthunder has been in things, but not big things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Relative unknowns in Prey, but Prey is great. And so basically, Jason wrote in on Patreon too. Thank you for the recent recommendation of the Predator 2 trailer. I had no memory of it, and it's perfect. Did I recommend the trailer or the movie?
I know you talked about the movie, but
the trailer is great too, because they're like, he's in town with a few days to kill,
which is an amazing tagline. That's great that he's like, but you should watch the movie too.
I hope the trailer made you want to watch the movie, Jason.
I can't remember if I told you, Matt, that I had a whole funny thing with my sister because I recommended to her, hey, you should watch Prey, and all I said to her was, I said it's the new Predator movie and it's set in the 1700s and it's really cool.
Oh man, I wouldn't have even told her it's a Predator movie.
I know,
but we were talking about going into that movie blind is so ideal.
I know, but here's the only reason I really shouldn't have said that.
You fucked up.
Is because then she texts me back going, okay, I just watched the first Predator. Now, should I watch the second before I watch Prey? I was like, you didn't have to watch any of the Predator movies before you watch Prey.
Oh my goodness.
Sure, watch the second one, skip the third and fourth one. But it was a whole funny thing. She said she's watching Prey tonight. And I just want to say that also, I think, look, Prey has done its job. It's so well received. I think they were getting. I will be shocked if they don't ask Dan Trachtenberg to do another one. We don't know if it'd be a straight up sequel to this or something else anthology wise. And I'm excited for whatever he would do. And maybe it'll be a theatrical movie. I mean, I don't think it's impossible, but we'll see. So I think it's undoubtedly considered a success right now. So yeah.
So good on Prey and good on everyone applauding the movie and the lead, including past stars of the franchise like Bill Duke and Joseph Ventura and stuff like that. So it's all really cool. Mm-hmm. Has Schwarzenegger sounded out?
He's not sounded off yet.
Because I feel like he'd be super supportive too. But he should do that. Get on that. Prey is awesome.
He's like, I've got so many things on my queue. I'll get to it.
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't even have Hulu. He's like, there's too many streaming
services. I've got to download something else.
No, nothing else. You can become a patron on Patreon as well, like those folks who wrote in. For $2 a month, you can get a commercial-free version of this podcast. And for $4 a month, you can get commercial-free versions of this podcast, this weekly podcast, along with our bonus episodes that also flood in every other week or so. Sometimes a couple in a week. Depends on the release schedules of movies. But yeah, they pop in and they're good fun. But you can also write to us on email at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, like Steve did. Neighbor Steve. I say Neighbor Steve because Steve lives in my town. I've met Steve. April and I met Steve and his wife. I think it was an NXT show. NXT. It was a smaller show. I don't know if it was NXT or ROH. I believe it was NXT. And Steve wrote in about our chat with about Halloween 3 last week. And he writes, hey guys, love all your episodes, but this one was particularly great. I went to a small school in Pittsburgh and was even part of an even smaller fraternity. Literally, our only famous alumnus is none other than Tom Atkins.
Yes.
And apparently whoever wrote this IMDb bio also wanted everyone to know that he went to this school. And so he included in this email, this is radio, not television, guys. Sorry, the highlighted part of the bio on IMDb, which anyone can just go to right now, and it'll point out the school he went to and the fraternity he belonged to. So, yes, that's all you need, as any famous alumnus is. I wish he did my graduation speech at NYU. I wish he did all my speeches. I wish. He's still alive. Yeah, he is. He's still. I don't know if he's kicking, but he's still alive. He's still going on.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our good things to enjoy this week. Mine was almost Bullet Train, so that's sort of an asterisk for me. I'll start this week, Eric, because I'm just basically piggybacking off of last week, where I half recommended Quarry, the video game, the horror video game. Now I'm full recommending it, but also pairing it with something else. So this is something. Quarry is a horror video game that is inspired by a lot of 80s. It doesn't take place in the 80s, but it's inspired by sort of 80s summer camp horror films, slasher films. And but it's also, I won't give away what it's actually about, because as the story unravels, you finally figure out that, you think these people are going to be the killers. Then you realize it's this, and it's a different thing, and it's a supernatural creature movie. Well, I say movie, but it feels like a movie. And you take turns playing each of the different counselors, and each of them are usually played by somebody, some known actor, and the body capture, the motion capture is stunning, and it's all really well done. I will say this, though. There's a chance for almost everyone, or at least maybe even everyone, to die when the dust settles at the end of it, depending on all your choices, because this is an interactive decision branching game with quick time events.
Mm-hmm.
So the things you do affect the way other characters treat you and affect outcomes, which then affects other chapters and so on. So there's lots of different ways. I guess the easiest way to put it is sort of a choose your own adventure, right?
Okay.
But not as stark as a choose your own adventure. It is still all funneling toward one thing. I came out of that game having really enjoyed myself, but also a little bummed that so many people survived, because when you're playing...
I like that. That's not what I thought you were going to say. Okay.
No, but I'm saying, like, because I take turns playing these characters, and when I am the character, I am trying not to die.
Sure.
And so I got a couple of them who had sort of bonehead bozo deaths, but for the most part, I had a pretty good survival rate. And at the end, I was like, that could have been bloodier. But that's just me surviving the game. So, but the Quarry, and this is my, I guess, official recommendation this week. The Quarry got me to go back and finish a game series I hadn't finished because it capped off in 2019, kind of unceremoniously, but also miraculously, which is Telltale's The Walking Dead game, which is based on the Walking Dead comic book universe and is done in the art style of Robert Kirkman's comic books, and includes even some of the characters from those comic books who, by default, are also TV characters.
Right.
So it's got Glenn and Herschel and a couple other people pop in. It's got Jesus in one season, but like it's the comic book versions of them, so it's not like you should connect it to the show. And the first season, and I'll include the second here too, but the first season is generally lauded as one of the best game experience of all time. And I absolutely agree with that. And the second season, I think, is just as strong, if not even better. I love it so much. Then came the third season. And when I say seasons, just think of these as separate games. They called seasons.
Yeah. That by the way, me who doesn't play a lot of games, I'm familiar with the terminology for games, but it still kind of throws me when you say that.
Yeah. I'll just stick with game. Or part 3 or something like that.
It's the proper terminology.
Each of the seasons, Eric, is separated into episodes, like 4 or 5 episodes, lengthy chapters or so on. And then season 3 was okay. And then they started season 4, which was only going to be 4 episodes. So I believe it's a little shorter than the rest. But they really wanted to wrap up the story. And then what happened is after 2 episodes, Telltale folded. And so it looked like we weren't going to get this game finished at all. It's kind of like the Batgirl situation where it's like, right. Oh, they're doing it. And then, the voice recording artist like found out in the booth that the game was canceled. Mm-hmm. And what happened was that Robert Kirkman and Skybound felt that this story needed absolute closure. So Skybound Games was actually sort of created and came in to finish the final 2 chapters of this game. And so there was a little break in between, but it all actually did get wrapped up. So playing The Quarry made me go back and finish. And I am so glad I did. I'm so glad I did it, because season 3, like I said, was all right. But season 4 is so beautiful and so wonderful. And it's just like the same experience you feel like after playing the first couple seasons. And there was a good argument to be made with seasons 1 and 2 of this game that a lot of people were saying this is better than the show. And I think in a lot of ways they were correct. You and I working for IGN, we aren't gamers. I think I played the most games out of people in entertainment. Mm-hmm. I got Scott Kalura, who still works at IGN as a senior editor. I got him to play seasons 1 and 2 of this game because I told him how great it was, and he loved it. He loved it all. So yeah. Anyway, you might know the characters from this games just through osmosis over the years, but the main one is Clementine.
No,
and
I know. I was going to say the name Clementine because
Clementine and Lee were the characters in the first
Mhm.
game, and then there are other ones like Kenny and Jane and people who come on later on in AJ. But like, not AJ Quartermain, not Sean Cannon's character from
General Hospital.
But I just want to say that this started in 2012, right? That's when season 1 came out, and it just wrapped up in 2019. So it's this long form storytelling that is just brutal. I still watch the Walking Dead TV show. I still think that there's good things to be mined from zombie apocalypse scenarios. This game did it better than most movies that have been made about zombies. Also, it had the advantage of putting you in the driver's seat of making really impossible, unfair decisions. You know what I mean? Like, in like, do you save this person or that person or yourself, or like, or you knew that some, it's sort of a running joke in these games is that there's a long stretch of peace or a long sort of like looser jovial moment. You're like, oh, something horrible is about to happen, which is usually correct. But yeah, it is absolutely great. And there was also a push back in the day. They really wanted Clementine to show up on the TV show somehow. Like, she's a very distinct look. People cosplay as Clementine all the time, and now in different seasons because she's grown up through the game. She starts when she's 7, I believe, or 8 or something like that. And there's still time, is what I'm saying, Eric, because there's 8 more episodes of the regular show. Then there's the Maggie Negan show. Then there's Daryl Goes to France.
There's an entire anthology show too.
So there's an anthology show, and there's still further Walking Dead. Again, all those people out there being like, "Oh, the Walking Dead's over. Who watches this?" Somebody does.
Somebody does.
It's the biggest television franchise on TV for the past decade, and it still is. So I'm saying there's still room for an Easter egg, is what I'm saying. All right, I've taken up.
And I'm saying that it was funny for you to say this just wrapped up in 2019 because you're not wrong that 2019 is, recent past, but it's an entire pandemic ago, so it feels like
yeah, I know it feels even longer than the normal wait for 3 years would have been.
Right.
But yeah, Eric, I recommend you play the game. But yeah, it's available everywhere on all consoles, I believe. So anyway.
I've heard good things. I kind of have a 2-for-2 in that I'm all about it's a physical media week, guys, because I happen to get copies of a couple things that Paramount put out this week on physical media. And one I basically just wanted to mention because we've done this movie on this podcast. Briefly, I'll mention that Event Horizon got a 4K release this week.
Oh, that's what
Jane Foster's
I'm looking at your
favorite
notes,
movie.
And I was like,
yes.
Oh yeah, Jane. That was her good thing to enjoy when she was doing chemotherapy.
It was Event Horizon. So Event Horizon got a 4K release this week. And god damn, it's just kind of amazing when you see how good they can make these old movies look. And the only funny thing about it is that just last year, Scream Factory put out a really cool Event Horizon Blu-ray, with a bunch of new special features, but it wasn't 4K. It was a 4K transfer, but not a 4K release. So now Paramount's putting out a 4K release a year later, and the only thing I'll say that makes it complicated for you event heads out there like me is that the Scream Factory version has all these cool new extras that the Paramount version doesn't. But the Paramount version is the best looking version of the movie. I'm keeping both, Matt. That's gonna hang on to it all. But just to say, I was really impressed that this little movie that could. I saw Paul Thomas Anderson did some press for this new release of it, and he said that Kurt Russell, when they were making Soldier, told him like, this is going to be your best movie, or something like 20 years from now, this is going to be the one people are going to like. That he had, how right he was.
Soldier or Event Horizon? What was
Event Horizon?
Oh, it wasn't his own movie.
He showed he actually said that. He said it was very nice of him because, although maybe it was also him not thinking that the movie they were making was great.
I thought Soldier was pretty good. I didn't think it was terrible.
As we talked about, that Kurt Russell, they had to wait to make Soldier, so Kurt Russell made Breakdown while Paul Thomas Anderson finished Event Horizon. But anyway, so just to say that there's a great new looking 4K disc of Event Horizon, which is a great movie. My other
wasn't there going to be an Event Horizon TV show? Did anyone ask him about that?
Maybe I have to look at. I only glanced at little bits of those interviews, so I'll have to see if they talked about that. And then, but my other recommendation is a very goofy one, but a movie that got its first Blu-ray release this week. So not a 4K release, but just a movie that's never been released on Blu-ray, even had a DVD, which is Back to the Beach from 1987. And I can't remember, I know we've talked about this a little, Matt, that 1987 really stands out to me as from my childhood of like an amazing movie summer, which isn't to say, looking back, that these are all classic stellar movies, although some great
You just
ones
had a good time. There's nothing wrong with that.
just had a good time.
Good time
there
with
was
the multiplex.
so much out, and there was also a lot of goofy comedies.
I mean, was it the summer of '89? No, but you had a good time.
You had a good time. You had Dragnets and Revenge of the Nerd 2s and Spaceballs.
Dragnet is solid.
Oh no, Dragnet is solid, and so is Back to the Beach, which is a really fascinating double time capsule movie now, because it's always going to be funny when you watch something that's about something that's being nostalgic, but now of course it becomes a time capsule for the time it was made in as well. So Back to the Beach, for those who don't know it, starred Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello, who had made all of these teen beach movies in the early 60s, and this was like a riff / parody / homage to that, where they're kind of playing themselves. Well, Annette Funicello is playing herself because she was supposed to be a Mouseketeer when she was young, but a fictionalized version of herself. And that they live in Ohio now, but they go back to the beach where they recapture everything that they loved as a kid.
Except it's the 80s.
It's the 80s. So there's punkers and things are different now. There's a lot of neon and a lot of things, touchstones of the 80s. And even the people, there's a lot of like celebrity cameos in this movie. And some of them are from the 50s and 60s. So it's like Gilligan's Island cast members and Leave It to Beaver cast members, including Tony Dow, who just passed away. But then you've got people of the 80s. So you've got the band Fishbone. You have Pee Wee Herman popping up and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's right. He was in that. Yeah.
Yep. So I actually think I saw Back to the Beach, Matt, before I saw Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Pee Wee's Big Adventure had already been out, but I didn't see Pee Wee's Big Adventure for a couple of years. Anyway, I really loved this movie as a kid. I think one of the biggest reasons I loved it as a kid was the character Bobby, who is their cynical, snarky teenage son who acts like a tough guy, and he's our audience surrogate. He makes fun of his parents and how cheesy they are. He talks to the audience. I thought he was the coolest guy ever. He's played by the I Want $2 kid from Better Off Dead, so he is the coolest guy ever. Anyway, it's a super corny by design movie. It's about playing off the fact that these are two sort of corny characters from the past. It's not the Brady Bunch movie as far as I was going to say,
if you shift the characters, the retro characters and the modern characters up by a decade each, you get the Brady Bunch movie.
Right.
When you're talking about a movie that's two time capsules in one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because Brady Bunch movie is obviously now a very 90s movie as well. Anyway, yeah, I was rewatching it. First of all, this was, in a way, this even impressed me more than Event Horizon, just to see Back to the Beach look so good. Just to be like, wow, it's not all grainy and shitty looking. It's always funny because Back to the Beach is a very low budget movie. It's never going to look like, you're never going to be like, this looks like Jaws. Like, this looks like phenomenal. But it looks better than I'd ever seen it before. And it's funny because this is so nostalgic for me because I watched it so much as a kid, but I still chuckle at it. And Matt, it's one of those movies where when I rewatch it, as I did this week, I'm like, holy shit, I know almost every line. Like, you forget sometimes because you watched it so much as a kid. And then, of course, years pass and you don't watch it. And then when you rewatch it, it's like, oh, yeah, I know, especially Bobby. I know everything Bobby's going to say because I thought that guy was the coolest, and he still is. So, yeah, Back to the Beach is new Blu-ray just came out. There's it's kind of flimsy on the extras front. There's an interview with the director, but I wish there were more. But you can actually, if you just wanted to watch this movie, you can rent and buy it everywhere. But I do recommend the new Blu-ray if you care about Back to the Beach. But I bet most people haven't seen it, and that's okay. But like I said, I do think it's just the whole
Back
thing about it being
is one of the more obscure 80s pulls. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, because it wasn't in summer 87. It's not like like Dragnet was a big hit, right? Spaceballs was a big hit.
Consider Dragnet a bit of an obscure pull as far as like what people think about of 80s films. So if you mention Dragnet, people are like, oh yeah, that movie, which Dragnet was, and we're talking about the Brady Bunch movie, was sort of like a precursor to the Brady Bunch movie in itself as well, because Joe Friday, the grandson or son, right?
He was nephew. They made him his nephew, yes.
Of the original Jack Webb character, is a throwback to the 50s in the midst of the 80s. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, it's funny, the Dragnet, when I think about it, Back to the Beach and Dragnet even coming out the same summer, both were starting to lean that way because, yeah, like Frankie and Annette in this movie, they're modern people, but they act kind of corny, especially Annette. Like, it's kind of the joke is that she's still like old fashioned. And it's funny, Matt, for me, like I think about, we talked also, of course, about how young people today don't have the shared experience of just seeing old stuff that we all did growing up in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so when I watched this movie in the 80s, I understood who the Leave It to Beaver and Gilligan's Island actors were because I'd seen those shows a lot. In
syndication. Me too. Yeah.
I also, you know what else I'd seen in syndication? The 1950s Mickey Mouse Club. So I knew Annette from that. The only thing I didn't know, but it's was the Teen Beach movies, because those were something
that they were actually parodying. Yeah.
Yeah. The core thing I wasn't familiar with, but that's okay. I still liked it. Now I know there's even more of a distancing because people watching it today wouldn't even understand like most of the cameos except for Pee Wee Herman. Because Pee Wee Forever. Yeah. But I'm curious if it would work for anyone. Oh, and there's an unfortunate cameo from O.J. Simpson, but what are you going to do?
Well, what are we going to do? Write off the entire first Naked Gun movie?
I know, which is
you can't do that.
Classic.
Which is the best Naked Gun movie. Okay, so I guess we're just each recommending two things now every week.
Yeah, so you've done it before.
You've
done it before, and you'll do it again, and I'll do it again too once in a while.
All right, let's get into our main event next week. Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers. Same way to view it on Shudder or AMC Plus, or renting or owning it already or whatnot. And so let's get into Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. And it is a return, a big return, because it's been 7 years, Eric, now, since Michael Myers was starring in a Halloween movie. That's not including his cameo in Halloween 3 on screen, but like actually being Michael Myers himself. We're talking from 81 to 1988 here. And let's consider that the slasher boom was long gone at this point. Like, we weren't getting slasher movies per se in 1988 the way that, like, maybe, Jason was still around doing looking at this Jason and he's doing stuff, but there weren't just like a new slasher movie every 2 weeks like there was from like 79 to 83.
Oh no, yeah, but it is interesting because the huge boom where there was just so many slasher movies is long gone, and Halloween 2 is the only one that really opened during that.
Yeah, and so we're getting Michael back was a kind of a big deal, and getting just a slasher movie per se, because he doesn't really stab a lot of people in this movie.
But I was going to say that that the weird thing about 88 is it is a notable year because it's the only year ever that there was a Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Chucky movie all in the same year. That year, because if Friday 7, Elm Street 4, Child's Play, the original, and Halloween 4 all open that year. They're all at such different places. Child's Play is brand new. Friday 13th is really waning, like they're not doing that well. But Freddy is at this peak because Elm Street 4 is number 1 for 3 weeks in a row, and it's like a giant sensation. I
consider that just because, not just because of the year, but that is and it's off. It's an oft debated topic. My horror my slasher Mount Rushmore right there.
Right.
Are those 4? I know arguments can be made for other.
No, it's a pretty amazing year, right? Yeah.
And we've got a director named Dwight H. Little, who would actually sort of go on to do, like, he did a very cool Steven Seagal movie when Steven Seagal was still coming up. He also did Brandon Lee's solo action movie before The Crow called Rapid Fire. Now he does a lot of TV. He went on to do like Nikita and Dollhouse and stuff like that.
He did Nikita, and I really wanted to talk to him when I did my Nikita set visit, but it didn't end up being possible because I wanted to talk to him because of this.
So we had a capable genre action director going into this movie, and we've got Donald Pleasance back as Dr. Loomis, and we've got so the big things about this movie, aside from like the extraordinarily enjoyable experience of seeing in the theater, which Eric's mom took us to see it, and with a very rowdy New York horror crowd, and it was amazing.
My mom would take us to all the horror movies because she didn't care.
And this movie also introduced an actress who would go on, not just for this movies, but other movies, being a scream queen, just like it did Jamie Lee Curtis a decade earlier, and that is Danielle Harris in her first movie role. And she was a huge reason why this movie worked. You can get into the character of Jamie Lloyd and be like, she's a little bit of a drag, she's a little bit of a wet blanket. Like, she likes to hang around and look at rain and being like, do you love me? You know, like, understandably, it hasn't even been a year since Jamie Lee Curtis's character and whoever she married died. I guess, what did they say? It's a car crash?
They don't say it. I mean, I think it's,
because if it's both of them at once, it's usually in movies and TV a car crash of some sort. Drunk driver came out of nowhere. And so Jamie is now Michael's niece, and that's the new driving force of this movie. And all it had to do was just make Loomis and Michael Myers alive again after 2. Right. And it just explained away with some dialogue saying, like, they nearly burned to death. The doctor, tried to sacrifice himself and kill him himself, and they nearly both died. And now they bear the scars of that, but nothing more. Like, they're still good. And Loomis has a limp.
Yeah, it's funny because you hit this point. Like, obviously Friday 13th has this huge divide from part 6 on, where there's just no more pretense of like, wow, he somehow survived his horrible injury. It's like he is literally brought back to life by lightning. He is the undead. He is a zombie of some form. With Michael, they're just like, you know what? He didn't die. Like, it looked worse than it was. All the gunshots, the explosion, the walking out on completely on fire, collapsing to the ground, flames coming out of his mask.
By the way,
he was okay.
This is far, far from the worst death they'll bring him back from.
No spoilers,
there is a definitive death coming up about 10 years later.
Spoilers, Matt.
I'm not going to go into it, but like, the fact that he's back after that is absolutely bonkers. So this is the first movie, The Return of Michael Myers, that actually brings him back to town. Like, the second movie, as we explained already, is the same night. He didn't come back. Now he's actually left for 10 years. He breaks out of the prison or the ambulance, and he goes.
They always decide to transfer him on the October 30th
on Halloween. Is that
no? It's always the day before Halloween.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So and then they're just basically the parts of this movie that really stand out to me, aside from Danielle Harris being great, is that, and a lot of it has to do with she's such a good crier and she's such a good screamer that I always believed, with child actors, it's really tough. There was never a moment I didn't believe what she was doing or thought that she wasn't in peril or frightened, because she was really good. There's also there's some fun spots in this movie. I'm not talking about it like a wrestling match. There's like the roof battle. There's like the concept of being locked inside a house that you can't get out of. There's the Earl and his posse, which we'll get into later. Like, the fact that, like, when Loomis gets back into town, he doesn't have to like twist people's arms too much to get them going and ramped up. By the way, it's interesting rewatching this movie now after seeing Halloween Kills, realizing how much of Halloween Kills is the plot of this movie, which is like everyone's sitting around a bar and then being like, let's go kill Michael Myers. Evil dies tonight. And so that's actually sort of the middle chunk of this movie. And then this was a movie, and I feel like I get this wrong every time I suggest it, where they added gore. Is that not right?
No, you're correct. It got a PG-13, and they didn't want that. It's funny. So often we hear the opposite, of course. They got this week. There was actually that story about that movie where they used software
to take out F-bombs, right?
To change out all the fucks. Yeah. But at this time, this is one of the rare cases where a movie came in, got a PG-13, and they said, no, we can't put a Halloween movie out of the PG-13.
We can't have the return of Michael Myers after 7 years, and then
I know very specifically, we never, in the original version of the movie, we never saw him kill the people in the ambulance like last time we see them was them driving away,
and
then the
and so then basically
the thumb,
you're like,
the thumb in the forehead.
yeah, we have to go back in and we have to add kills. Now, obviously, he could just take scalpels and kill them, slit their throats, or stab their eye or whatever. The thumb in the forehead was a very definitive stamp going into the beginning of this movie, being like, he's so strong, he can put his thumb through your skull. Which
almost
is
all the gory
insane.
deaths, and I'm guessing all of these, probably maybe all additional, is him using his fingers to tear into people's faces. It's like a movie does multiple times.
Which is funny, talking at the top of this episode about seeing The Thing. That's what The Thing does. It like melds, you can put your fingers in your face and like absorb you. So Michael's gone from being a shape to The Thing. Well, The Thing was actually playing in the first movie on TV on Halloween.
The original, yeah.
And then, okay, so let's get into the movie here. It's a look. This is a tight 88. This movie, so
yes,
there's no fat on this one. Which is that scary? Well, then it opens with scarecrows. There's your Halloween stuff, Eric.
No, and I love this. I love this little moody opening, and I like how there's nobody's returning except Alan Howarth as far as like people who worked on the previous movies, and so Alan Howarth now doing the score on his own. He did worked with Carpenter on 2 and 3, but yeah, very cool, like moody opening. I like that they wait to play the Halloween theme until Michael's actually being transferred, and it's just funny because like we said last week, it's like Carpenter and Deborah Hill had really walked away from the series completely at this point, and I'm going to bring up often, Matt, as we go into this one of the next few, that I am currently reading. I need to go back and finish it. The book Taking Shape 2, which is the second book about the making of these movies. This one specifically about the sequels that didn't happen, which is to say completely different versions of these sequels, different scripts by different writers didn't happen. But one thing I learned is Carpenter was involved for a little while of developing a Halloween 4 before he decided, because it was made clear we are bringing Michael Myers back. And I think he eventually was like, and he walked away. So he gets a credit for Halloween theme, but that is his only credit on this movie.
And so this movie, since it wasn't written by Carpenter at Hill, was written by Alan B. McElroy, who just interesting career. Obviously, he wrote after this Rapid Fire starring Brandon Lee with the same director. He also wrote the Spawn movie. He also was the showrunner for the Spawn animated series. He wrote the first Marine movie with John Cena, and then the fourth Marine movie with The Miz, and then the second Condemned movie with Randy Orton. And then most interestingly enough for me, the Wrong Turn reboot not actually wasn't a sequel at all. It was just sort of a reimagining reboot of the thing from 2021, which wasn't terrible. It was a new take on Wrong Turn, which was had been franchised. I think it was like 6 movies deep at that point when they sort of revamped it for a new one in 2021. Anyway,
and look, it is notable. Strange thing to point out, but just like looking at the times in 1988, I think he was certainly the first Black writer to write one of these major slasher movies, like a tentpole character, that did stand out. And also, maybe at the end I'll mention a little about some of the versions they didn't do from other writers, but this movie was written incredibly quickly because of the writer's strike. There's been 2 major writer's strikes in our lifetime, and both times they resulted in people like racing to finish scripts so they could just film stuff. Elm Street 4, came out the same year, was under the same circumstances of just like desperately like the financiers being like, finish this script before you go on strike. So he had to write this script very, very quickly before he had to go start walking the picket line.
It was also his first screenplay. So yeah. I mean, that got made. So we open with the fields during the day, but then at night it's all rain and terror and storms, and an ambulance drives into not Smith's Grove, Ridgemont Sanitarium, the worst place. And then we meet Ray O'Connor as the guard, a guy I worked with on a student film called An Afternoon in the Park. And when I saw Ray, I was like, hey, it's Ray. And everyone in the theater was like, shut up.
You pulled a Carol Goldman, my mom, who is always,
hey, I worked with that guy.
Yeah, talking about the actors she knows and things.
When I was in 5th grade. This is something that would never happen now. I don't know how it happened then, but let's just say that in 1985, 2 grad students from Columbia Film School at Columbia University were allowed to come into an elementary school and audition kids for their movie.
Mm-hmm.
These weren't actors going in to read sides. They would pull us out of class and we would read in the hallways.
Okay.
The principal allowed this. I guarantee you that not like the parents weren't contacted about this, as far as like you need every parent's permission or something. I don't know, maybe. But you definitely need the parents' permission for those of us who are cast, because I almost acted opposite someone completely different, but his mom wouldn't let him do the movie because they were Jehovah's Witnesses and there was objectionable material in an afternoon in the park. So it was me and John Davidson starring opposite Ray O'Connor and some other dude, and we got to shoot guns in Riverside Park. It was fun. Anyway,
and Ray, after, because Matt, of course, when we were kids, told me he knew this guy because he did this movie with him. But then Ray O'Connor would be in a lot of commercials and worked a lot. And
sitcoms,
sitcoms.
And
So it was always like, that's Ray from Halloween 4 and the student film Matt was in.
I always figure, and Ray gets a pretty prominent role at the beginning of this movie. I always figure Ray was like the guy they went to when George Zunza wasn't available. Like he was very like you can't get Zunza, let's get Ray.
And I will say that it's very difficult. Like anytime you're doing we're going to bring you to the creepy, dangerous prisoner, people are going to think of Silence of the Lambs. So I just want to point out this is 3 years before Silence of the Lambs.
I also want to point out that Ray's character, which I think is just Guard, he gets a lot of Loomis lines. So before Loomis comes back into our lives in this movie. Mm-hmm. Ray gets the Loomis lines. He gets the Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place, and welcome to hell, all these things. And it's I'm kind of bummed that Loomis and this guy never crossed paths. In this.
Well, maybe they did, because Loomis is still. It is amazing.
In front of our eyes.
Yeah, because the fact that it is kind of amazing that Michael would still be considered Loomis's patient, considering they try to murder each other repeatedly. But Loomis is the reason that they're both disfigured. By the way, so that's a funny thing. But also. I'd like to know what that relationship was like too. But I like to believe that Ray met Loomis along the way.
Well, I just feel like he learned to talk so so dramatically from Loomis. He's everything he says is it's the worst of the worst come through here, and evil, and all the stuff that Loomis says. And he's also there for exposition, because
I was going to say that's
murdered 16 people, and
he's there for, frankly, us, because I think I've mentioned this to you. I don't remember, Matt, if you and I had watched Halloween 1 before or after this. I might have seen this. I know I saw this before Halloween 2. So a lot of people, young people in 1988 are going to go see this just to have fun on a Friday night and will not have seen the earlier movies. Mm-hmm. So Ray's there to tell you the backstory. He does have he gets something wrong though. He's quoting a line that people quote a lot from Lewis from the second one, which is, I shot him 6 times, because he shot him 6 times, but he actually shot him way more, because in Halloween 2, he shoots him way more at the hospital at the end. So he shot him 12 times by the end of the night.
This Guard is just going on the myths at this point, right. Stories. Because also, Michael has his eyes in this. So yeah.
That's true.
He grew them back.
I also really want to know, the whole transfer situation is funny to me, because the beginning of Halloween, Michael is a patient at Smith's Grove, and when he's 21, he's to be transferred somewhere else. I don't remember the name of it. And, Loomis has a good line about that. It's the law. He's 21. He's kind of pissed about it because he knows it's a bad idea. But I just think it's funny now. It's 10 years later, and now he's 31.
When you're 31, you have to go back to Smith's
Grove, because they're transferring back to Smith's Grove.
Every 10 years, you go back and forth.
Right. Smith's Grove's just got some wonky rules, but
then we meet. So Dr. Hoffman is sort of the asshole who, amazingly, vanishes after the first 15 minutes and doesn't get killed in this movie.
Yeah.
Who basically transfers Michael without Loomis's permission. He says Dr. Loomis didn't read the memos, but you get the feeling that he just did it anyway and just didn't tell him and was being a shit about it. And then the last time we see him is at the ambulance wreck where he's like, no, Michael's in there. No, everything's so bad. And he's like, look what you've done. And we don't see him again. So he's sort of the catalyst here, as we'll see with going forward. Every time Michael escapes, there's usually some weird doctor involved. This guy is just being a boner. And I'm very surprised he doesn't die. And I'm also surprised, and I'm skipping ahead in the movie now, where there's Rachel is a teenage character, the foster sister of Jamie, and then her boyfriend Brady. And we meet Rachel's friend Lindsay, and then we meet like Brady's friends at the store, Wade and some other dude, and we never see them again. It's like they set up these teenagers that you think are gonna die, and then we don't we don't see them ever again, like, which is really strange for a movie like this. All right, let's see. With the transfer of Michael Myers in the ambulance comes a really cool look for Michael, which is something he doesn't have a lot in this movie. He doesn't last long, which is the bandaged face.
Yeah.
Like the wrapped up bandaged face, and especially the bloody white t-shirt and the white bandages on his face. So obviously he can't walk around the street looking like that. Well, maybe he could on Halloween, but like, I think it's a really cool look. I wish it lasted in the movie a bit longer before he got into the jumpsuit and the mask and all that. But we do get at least the jumpsuit and the bandaged face at one point.
Yeah.
So we get that cool. There's steps involved with him getting back and getting his costuming back. There's always a mechanic. There's always a mask. But yeah, this basically the thumb in the forehead. He kills the ambulance people.
Well, and also one thing, it's funny to know that that was an additional photography scene, because they also used that scene for them to mention his only living relative is his niece. That's when his hand moves.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that we know Lori is his sister, now there's just this implicit idea that he wants to murder his family.
Yeah.
Like he killed Judith. He wanted to kill Lori.
He wants
Lori's
to kill.
dead.
So yes, he mentions Jamie. He grabs his blankie with his burned hand. We assume his face is all burned up too. And yeah, and then when we see the ambulance later, like when Loomis looks into the back of it, it's coated. Every square inch of that back is coated with blood, like comically. And then we get let's see. Then we meet Jamie, and after the Michael basically makes his escape, we meet Jamie outside. And then Jamie's got some interesting things going on at the beginning of this movie that kind of vanish by the end, which is that she's dreaming about Michael, having nightmares and can't sleep at night. Which is like, there's a lot of questions to ask where it's like, how would she know that he looked like this with this costume and this mask? But you'd also realize she would know something. Right? Like,
right.
It would be in the public knowledge somehow that 16 people die in one night, and this guy looks like this. There's going to be drawings. There's going to be
it's
detailed
her uncle.
It's her mom survived this.
Yeah.
So I can forgive that. What's most curious is when she looks out the window and she
ambulance.
Sees the Smiths Grove ambulance, and that's where it's like, does she? Because there's arguments to be made that she has visions in this movie.
No, for sure, because later, as we'll learn soon after, that ambulance is, as you mentioned, flipped over, covered in blood inside. So it never at the time we see the ambulance, we're assuming, oh, Michael drove it there because it's like the first movie. Turns out, no, he didn't. And so her seeing that ambulance is just complete vision of like something she really shouldn't have any idea about. But
because so there's like, is she clairvoyant in some way? Now, obviously that ambulance is there to also fake us out about Michael being in the house, because that's just a dream. But we're supposed to, if the ambulance is there, then we think it could be real for a few minutes, because we're like, oh, he's already in the house. This movie's starting really quickly.
Yeah.
But then later on, when she's in the Five and Dime at the discount store, there's a part where she's looking at the costumes and he gets a mask and scares her. Now, here's the thing. There's the possibility is he was right there. This is when he gets his mask and he just doesn't know who she is, and like misses his opportunity to kill Jamie right there. And like just royally fucks up. Or she's kind of having another one of her regardless, she falls into the mirror and breaks it. But she could have just been having one of her visions, as far as like, he did this an hour ago.
Right.
And like grab this mask, you know.
Well, because I laughed about the idea that he's just like, hey, can I share this mirror? I want to see how I look in my new mask.
He's like, hey, you look pretty cool. Hey, let me tell you something about that clown costume you've got. Funny story. Funny story.
As we've mentioned, the mask will be a constantly controversial thing because they're never able to get the first mask again right. Even the second movie where it was literally the same mask. Now this time it's not at all, and this one is even though this movie is held in high regard, the mask is not, because it's a weird, completely featureless one. Like, it doesn't have any of like the dimension that the original does.
And then there's one part where it's blonde.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other. Well, you know the prevailing fan theory on that part, right?
No, I don't know anything.
Well, I shouldn't say prevailing, but some people have made this joke in recent years, and I like it. That's not Michael. That's the ghost of Ben Tramer.
Good, because he had that mask.
Yeah, he had the blonde masks.
I like to think that Ben Tramer hangs out around the school too. Well, I guess I don't know why he'd be in the middle school, but whatever. Okay, so here's the thing: if Loomis and Michael can come back from that burn death, so can Ben Tramer.
Right.
He burned the same way Michael did.
Also, Matt. So I completely. I don't think you realized that I completely went out internet wise as you were talking about.
I did
other friends of Rachel that like never come back again.
I did because you were quiet, and then I went to check on you, and you were still there. So
right. Anyway, so I was going to talk about that and the Easter eggy stuff going on there, which is funny. Which is Rachel's friend she's driving with is named Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And the implication that is Lindsay.
Lindsay grown up, right?
Yeah. And one of the other, there's the three boys in the store. There's Brady, who's one of the main characters. There's Wade, fuck off Wade, who tries to hit on what's her face,
Kelly.
But the third guy who never gets named in the script, his name is Tommy.
Okay.
So that was their little thing. And I'll just say now that there were some of those early scripts for Halloween 4 they didn't use. Tommy and Lindsay were like main characters in those scripts. Like the idea that like we'd pick up with them once it was clear that Jamie Lee Curtis wouldn't be back. What do you do? And so there were scripts where it was like Tommy and Lindsay and Sheriff Brackett and just bringing back all these characters. Loomis was always going to be brought back with them. But the little remnant in this script, in Alan McElroy's script, is just Lindsay is her friend. And there was a character never even said on screen named Tommy. But again, they vanished. They never come back.
Well, the other thing is that Rachel mentions too at one point that Lori babysat for her. Yep. So she was one of her babysitting rounds was Rachel, who never met in the first two movies. And then we've got so Jamie is troubled, but she's sweet and she's, had a hard go of it. And now she's like, really likes to quiz people about like whether they truly love her. Like, even though I'm not your sister, she's really into that. And then we've got, let's see, when do we get to the next morning is when, we actually meet Loomis for the first time, and we get this sort of the introduction of him walking down the hallway with the cane and stuff like that. So it's a cool intro, just seeing him from behind at first, and then just kind of yelling at Dr. Hoffman about.
That is also when he goes. And I actually love Donald Pleasance in this movie.
Yeah.
I quote him a lot from this one. Michael Myers is here
in this town. That's from the trailer too.
It was. But also, I like when he goes, take a good look. And I am like, Loomis, all things considered, you look pretty good, considering you were in a giant explosion of fire that you have like one patch of one of your cheeks and one of your hands.
He has some of his most memorable Loomis lines in this movie, as far as like, you're talking about him as if he's still a man, or like we're talking about evil on two legs, and just a lot of that. And it, God bless Donald Pleasance. He just delivers it like a champ, even though it's some of the most. It's sort of like cranking that dial up on the Loomis dramatics at this point. Yeah. And we actually also get to see pictures of Jamie Lee Curtis as like, Jamie, the character Jamie sort of mourns her mom. So we get like pictures, which are important because Michael sees them too.
They are, and I'm glad it's in the first part when Jamie looks at them. There's just the one. When Michael looks through them, we see a second one. I am glad the second one's there because the first one, and this happens a lot in movies and TV shows, and it always amuses me, which is the picture that she first looks at is a picture taken on the set of the original Halloween. So it's always just funny that it's just happens to be the day that we watched the most monumental day of her life in the same clothing that she was wearing. But then there's a second photo that it looks like Jamie Lee Curtis just gave them of her in that era. That's not like,
well, the second one looks like a headshot.
Yeah.
It's it's my mom's resume. I feel like we should also point out that in between here, there's sort of the morning after at the Carruthers household where we meet the mom and dad. Guess who's going out on Halloween night?
Halloween night in Haddonfield.
Parents just fuck right off on Halloween night. Now they do explain later that it is a very important business meeting that could bode well for the future of the family.
Yeah.
That also doesn't mean that it's not one of the Haddonfield parents' annual Halloween swingers parties either.
Oh, yeah,
it still could be that, but it's also his job's on the line. So and the babysitter broke her leg, so now Rachel has to babysit Jamie, and first she's pissed about it, but then she makes nice and promises Jamie double scoops after school. Guess who really gets double scoops after school? Brady. So then we've got
Hey,
Loomis.
Also, we skipped over. Rachel has an amazing line, which is, "Mom, I'm on a diet. Do you want an oinker for a daughter?" Also, back-to-back lines I put down here, which is Hoffman, who that actor Michael Pataki is very familiar. If you look him up, he has a million credits. But I really like his delivery when he's arguing with Loomis, and he goes, "Christ, spare me the speech. I've listened to it for a decade." He pronounces decade very specifically.
He wants Loomis to die, by the way.
Because
in the beginning he's like, I wouldn't mind if he transferred or retired or died.
Fucking die.
It's just hey asshole, die. But yeah, so Loomis is upset that Michael is gone, and then a call comes in very coincidentally right at that moment. Saved by the Bell, as far as that there was an accident. That's basically, and I like the fact that Loomis, all he needs to hear, what, an accident, and he leaves immediately. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
No one ever listens to this guy. And so we get the ambulance scene, and Loomis decides he's headed to Haddonfield, and it's about a 4-hour drive. But then basically comes the garage scene. One of my favorite little Loomis interlude scenes with Michael, because we don't get too many of them. We don't really get any moments where he gets to say lines to Michael or speak to him. It's usually just shoot, or do something. But there's a little standoff after Michael kills the mechanic in this garage / shop, diner, whatever.
Which is filled with Abraham Lincoln photos.
Well, the place is called Pennies, so maybe they're really into the actual penny coin.
I didn't catch that. That does give at least some explanation, because Halloween 4, specifically Halloween 4, has twice been a maze at Halloween Horror Nights, which I absolutely love that they've done that. And when they recreate this section of the movie, they meticulously fill it with Abraham Lincoln photos on the wall.
But yeah, just basically Loomis staring 30 feet away from Michael and seeing him and being able to speak to him, and this is Michael in the jumpsuit but no mask, just the bandage wrapped head, which is so awesome. And he's just leave those poor people alone. And he's like, that goddamn you line, and he just shoots is so cool. I love it.
I don't quite get how Michael leaps out of the way, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's not the best edited scene in the world, because there's a part of me that when I watched it for the first few times, I'm like, oh, did he actually shoot a mirror and he was tricked him? He thought he saw a reflection, but no, he was just gone. And then it all leads to a big action sequence where the entire place explodes. And
I don't know what Michael drives over to cause that explosion.
He crashes sort of into the pumps or something. And also Loomis is shooting at him.
And Loomis goes flying.
It's not the first time Loomis will go flying in this movie.
No.
The second time, though, is at the hands of Ben Tramer, as Eric pointed out. And then this starts off the isolating of Haddonfield too, because we see the phone lines go down, and that's why a different era, long distance calls are done. So you can't call out of Haddonfield to somewhere else.
Well, that's with Bucky later, right? You're talking about when Michael.
No, that's when the power goes out.
Oh, okay.
Because at this point, the phone lines are down. So when Loomis goes to the police station, they try to call out.
That's right.
And the guy's like, "Hey, 1-900-490-freak. It doesn't work. Freddy Freaker. 1-900-490-freak. That's the line, right? Freddy Freaker.
Don't remember the details. I kind of know what you're talking about.
Freddy Freaker.
I kind of remember Freddy.
I'm just gonna say Freddy Freaker over and over again, Eric. 1-900-490-freak. He just told you all the hot goss from coast to coast.
That's right.
All the freaky news. I don't know what he did. Okay, so then we go from that really cool standoff between Loomis and Michael to bullying 2.0, which is taking the bullying scene from the first movie.
Now here's probably the part that Matt and I have quoted the most for the last several
Jamie's
decades.
an orphan. No, it doesn't start off. It doesn't start off with Jamie's an orphan. It's like your uncle's the boogeyman. Hey, did your mom make your costume for you? Oh,
how could she? Her mom's dead.
Jamie's mommy's a mummy, Eric. Then they say this, which actually honestly is a compliment. Every day is Halloween at Jamie's house. That sounds great.
That sounds cool.
That sounds rad. But then they get into the Jamie's an orphan.
The chant. And again, this is, Haddonfield 10 years before was Boogeyman's going to get you. Boogeyman's going to get you with those assholes bullying Tommy. But things have escalated. Now they're just like, we're going to make fun of your dead mother.
I am very upset that somewhere in the new trilogy, there's not some sort of like weird cyberbullying going on.
We'll get. But
there's also no middle school. There's also no middle school.
No, there's some asshole bullies. I'm trying not to say too much about what's ahead, but they did bring back some a-hole kids.
By the way, guess who makes nice later in the movie? Aren't these the same kids who compliment her on her clown costume?
I thought so too, but I think it's only the Frankenstein kid.
That's still.
Because the one who I know is not there, because goddamn, I envy his costume, is the Matt Tracker kid, the kid dressed in the mask.
The mask costume.
Mask was a toy line in the 80s that I was very into.
Not the Eric Stoltz movie, Mask.
Not the Eric Stoltz movie.
There was a cartoon cool, and
transforming vehicle. It was like G.I. Joe meets Transformers, and one of the kids is wearing
with a great theme song. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What did Mask stand for?
Oh, mobile something.
I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, so Jamie's basically suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune on all sides. She's beset on all sides by death and assholes, and that's Haddonfield for you. And then we get the store scene because Rachel and Lindsay pick her up after school, and they go
Mobile Armored Strike Command, but command is a K.
That means it's cooler. It's cooler with a K.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We get the fuck off Wade scene. We get the Michael grabs his mask scene. And then we also get the scene where when Rachel tells Brady that she can't go out with him on Halloween night, we see him look at Kelly and sort of foreshadow that he's going to go over to Kelly's house and cheat on Rachel.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair, I'm not trying to defend Brady, but like, Rachel's whole thing was like, I think he's going to commit to being tonight. So they're not committed at that point.
No. Yeah, that's it.
So I'm just saying, and they're stupid high schoolers. Anyway.
I also want to point out that Sasha Jensen was like this happens a lot with young actors where it's like he would play a high school kid for many years, culminating in Dazed and Confused. But he was in the original Buffy movie.
Oh, I mean, his eyebrows are unmistakable, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's just that thing where someone is like, for many, because by the time he did this movie, he's 24. Again, this is it's not atypical for Hollywood, but he'd be like 30 and still finishing out his run of high school student roles.
Yeah. And then we've got she actually picks out the clown costume that young Michael Myers wore when he murdered his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cool little throwback nod, and it looks cool. And
one more, this is, I guess, the last little psychic thing, because she sees the vision of Kid Michael.
So it is one of those things where it's like, and
He's
again,
called
I
for
haven't
the
seen
costume.
six. I haven't seen six, so I don't know like how far they delve into powers or if any of this pays off, or it's just sort of an interesting layer to this movie that never really quite pays off or kind of goes unfulfilled in most aspects. But yeah, it's there, and she's seeing things and or dreaming, and it's like she can dream about Michael Myers in his in his final form, but also you would also think that she would, if she knew that, you would think she knew about the clown costume too, but she doesn't. So, but the ghost of Michael calls to her, and she sees that part at least. And then they just go trick or treating like normal, and she enjoys herself, makes new friends, and has a good time. At this point, Loomis goes into the sheriff's station looking for Sheriff Brackett.
Wait. We skipped some very important.
Oh, we skipped the hitchhiker. Okay, I'm looking at my notes.
Yes.
Okay,
because first we get. I really like the weird, surreal dreaminess of the car filled with teenagers who beckon Dr. Loomis to them. Come on, and then freaking take off.
First of all, great prank. I love it.
Yes.
No notes.
Colonel Cochran would be
proud. It's really good. Secondly, this whole thing feels like Loomis actually died in 1981. he's dreaming all of this because who picks him up afterwards also feels like a dream, especially because the car emerges from smokes.
A great scene for Loomis. Yeah.
So the whole thing is like Loomis may never get an actual scene of dialogue between him and the guard played by Ray O'Connor, but he does get a scene with Carmen Philpy's. They go so far as to give him an actual name and have him say his name, Reverend Jackson P. Sayer, and known also as the boxcar hobo from Pee-wee's Big Adventure that makes him
Jimmy
himself off the train.
And I don't
makes him hurl himself.
My friend April and I, you know what? Sometimes when you get into like a laughing fit, April and I once like couldn't stop laughing because we recounted that scene
because it's an amazing scene. It's one of the funniest fucking scenes in cinema. This guy singing so much, the friendliest guy in the world, and he won't stop singing these songs. And Pee Wee Herman throws himself from a moving locomotive to get away from him. So anyway,
while screaming.
This is also, by the way, the only time we see by the end of this when Loomis takes a drink with this guy. Loomis loosen up a little.
No, this is why it's a really nice scene because it just pops this very odd character into this part of the movie briefly, gives you a whole wondering like what's his deal, and lets you see a different side of Loomis because it's like, hey, maybe he could be pals with this guy.
Well, in Loomis has since day one of this series been butting heads with people who don't get him or don't understand him or don't believe him, and he has to like sell his story so hard to people. And he finally meets someone who actually he doesn't need to explain himself at all. The guy just takes one look at him and knows his entire.
They're hunting it.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets it from the get-go, and it just turns out that this guy is an absolute lunatic. And so it's like his kindred spirit, his soulmate, is this crazy drunken fire and brimstone revivalist preacher that just travels around the country hunting demons Winchester style. I don't know what he's doing. You'd think also the fact that he says his name means he's going to come back in the end. No, not at all.
Reverend Jackson P. Sayer. Now here's where I'm trying my best not to say things from the later movies, but I feel like I can say this because it's a non-spoiler, which is an amusing thing, Matt, as I'm reading that Taking Shape 2 book. There were multiple scripts for multiple Halloween sequels that were going to bring back Reverend Jackson P. Sayer.
I feel like they could have, for sure.
And to help Loomis, there was at least one where he had a heel turn, and it turned out he was a bad guy. So there was more than once writers were like, let's bring back this dude. It never happened. But,
can't kill damnation, Eric. You know that?
Right. He's out there. Carry on now.
the road so far. Okay, so then we get Loomis going to the sheriff's station, finds Sheriff Meeker. Loomis has to do a little shouting. He's like 6 bodies between here and Ridgemont, but he doesn't get like the hi-hat, right? Like this guy's like, you mean, everyone there knows what happens 10 years earlier.
Brackett retired, but they're all very familiar with
Sheriff Meeker is going to investigate. He's at least going to listen to Loomis and hear him out, and like tells his boys to do certain things. And actually, this point, Loomis does what he didn't do in the first movie, which was like, hey, tell the TV stations to tell people to go home, like get people off the street. Like he didn't want them doing that the first time around. This time he does.
He's worried about a panic, yeah.
And he's right, because a posse forms. Earl and his boys do form. But as he points out later, when all the cops are killed, it's like, this is all you've got. So one mistake leads to a solution, leads to a mistake, leads to a solution. I do feel that Meeker is a capable, confident sheriff, and you kind of feel safer when he's around. But boy, he did not seem all that bothered by his entire police station being murdered brutally.
He was like, well, they would have put up a fight, but he wasn't like, Jesus Christ,
or that any of them were his friends. Like, no.
Yeah, he was just like, kind of like, huh.
He sort of took it in very like calmly, and like his shock was told to us through quiet. But I also feel like he needed to raise a little more hell than that.
It's like how
that's quite a scene to walk into.
It's like how Princess Leia deals with the destruction of Alderaan in like a comic book later, because it's like that's just her manner, It's like Sheriff Meeker's like, I'm gonna compartmentalize this.
Yeah, she chokes it down. She like, yeah, well, he's still got a job to do, right? Like he needs to still like be on the clock. So then we've got as they're trick-or-treating, Rachel sees that Brady is with Kelly.
Yeah.
And I will say this, our movie theater was very pro Kelly. When she stands in the doorway after they sort of argue, and she says to Brady, "You coming in or what?" And everyone's like, "Hell yeah!" in the theater.
And her cops do it by the book shirt.
I wonder what Sheriff Meeker thinks of that shirt, by the way.
Which you can buy on TeePublic and Redbubble. There's a lot of recreations.
So
of that
the thing is, do you think he knew about that shirt? And B, if he did, do you think he got it?
Or is it his shirt?
Or yeah, is he like? Well, it was oversized, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it was his shirt, and he's like, "Hey, get it?" Or he's just very literal. He's like, "We do it by the book."
That's right. I follow the rules.
Yes, and this shirt says so. And then we've got the bar, Earl's Bar.
Yeah.
Which is the sort of Halloween Kills portion of this, which is sort of like they basically they're told they need to close down. So Earl takes it upon himself and his three friends, they're going to go down to the police station and just see what's up.
Phone never just rings at a police station. No way, no how.
No way, no how. Then we've got
now we've got solidifying Michael Myers. Everyone will have their favorites with like the slasher movie killers, but I feel like Michael has to be the most evil, because in this movie he murders his third dog.
Yeah,
in this series,
yeah, it's not a good look, Michael. It's not a good look.
He just keeps. Jason did kill at least one dog. Or
you know who doesn't kill dogs? Predators.
Predators do not. Well, he tried. But yeah, Michael kills his third dog, so he's just pretty vicious. I don't know if he tried to eat this one.
I mean, is it worse than Freddy Krueger being a child raper? Probably.
Yes, and for a lot of moviegoers,
but hear me out. Michael kills a dog. Ugh, yeah, it's the worst. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And he didn't need to, honestly, too, because the house was empty when he went in there. Mm-hmm. So that was just, yeah, like you said.
He was hungry.
Yeah, I mean, that is what he does to eat, apparently. So, yeah, then Loomis also goes to, Jamie's house with the sheriff. They find the dead dog. One of the cops stays at Jamie's house. He'll later be called out of that house, so it doesn't matter. There's a lot of going back and forth to that house that doesn't really matter because it makes Loomis leave later. And nothing ever comes of it because we never really go back there.
The house isn't important until the very end.
Till the very end. This is when Michael kills Bucky, the power guy, and all the power
very
goes out in town.
And I noticed, again, I have listened to commentaries and stuff on this movie before, but it's been a while. But I'm 90% sure by context clues, one of the crew members has the nickname Bucky in the closing credits and quotes. So I have to believe that was a shout out to him.
Yeah. And that "Don't try that Halloween shit with me" line is very famous. He gets killed again. No knife kills in this, so there was sort of an edict almost until I think he kills people with knives on the back of the truck at the end. But for the most part, he's not knifing people. Like they're like, no, you gotta kill people with.
He's got a knife. He's got a knife on the roof. But yeah,
he tries to.
Mm-hmm.
He's stabbing away. So there's an interesting element to this movie that I don't know if people have already talked about or not, because I haven't really followed the discourse about this film for the past couple decades. But the fact that like there are several points in this movie where you as an audience member feel safe because Jamie and Rachel are with cops or with Loomis or with other people. And then even at the end, they're with like a truck, Earl's crew and the gun people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so great pains are taken to make you feel safe and secure, locked in a house with a deadbolt, with 2 armed cops, and it still doesn't matter. And like Michael will still come in and kill people and rip their faces off or throw them off a truck or whatnot. And so I think that's an interesting element here that you don't see in a lot of movies, is that they're not, Jamie and Rachel aren't constantly on the run, desperate to find safety. Oftentimes they are quote unquote safe.
Yeah. No, I think to the movie's credit, you know, you and I have often talked about, especially in this era with these movies, it stood out that, you know, Meeker pretty quickly is like, you know what, I better listen to this guy just in case. Also, even at the end, when Earl's group are like, you know what, let's not go in the school and try to get him.
To be fair, they'd already committed a murder.
They'd already accidentally killed someone, but they've learned from their lesson. And they're like, we saved the girls. Let's just go get out of here. The state troopers are on their way. So they do their best. You know, they're just doing the best they can.
Yeah, like the Lubbocks. And it is very funny that Michael not only has held onto the truck, but with his knife. So when his hand comes up, he's not even using that hand to hold onto the truck. It's like it's
the same when he climbs up on the roof. He's got the knife.
He just needs one hand to climb.
Yeah.
Then there's that moment when they're all in the cop car and they're surrounded by Michael Myers. And I remember being in the theater, not knowing that much about the mythology at all. I do believe I saw Halloween before this, but I can't be sure. But I do remember being in that theater, and when all this Michael showed up, everyone, including us, were like, "Oh shit!" Like it's like an alien Michael thing. Like we didn't know what was going on. Turns out, another solid teenage prank. They got Loomis, they got us. The teens are just out there.
And a very funny 80
impractical joking everywhere. Yeah.
Lots of pranking. A very funny 80-yard line when they're all running away, because one of them goes, "You thought it was me, didn't you?" And it's like, well, yes. And I almost shot you and killed you because
they almost got Ben Tramered.
Right? But Ben Tramered should be a cautionary tale.
A cool moment. One of them was Michael. So I love that scene when they drive off and like the one remains.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool. And then we've got the line, "He's come home to kill," which I think maybe was a tagline too for this film. Then we've got then Earl, Al, and his boys go off. The good guys with guns that they are. We learned that Al's kid was killed 10 years earlier, so there's speculation about which one of those dead bodies in the first 2 movies was Al's kid. That they go off and they hear rustling in the bushes, and there's a lot of ways to go with this scene. Bottom line, they wind up murdering their good pal Ted Hollister.
Yeah.
Poor Ted Hollister never stood a chance against Earl and his redneck brigade who just opened fire on the bushes. Now, Al swears he saw Michael Myers. It was Ted Hollister. We never see what Ted looked like. We didn't see him dead afterward. All we know is that he was in the bushes, and that either someone thought Michael Myers was creeping in the bushes, or someone didn't realize Ted was in the bushes. How often is Ted in the bushes? Should they have known that Ted is a bush crawler? Like, what was he doing in there? I have a lot of questions. I feel like...
we need the Ted Hollister story is what we need. Yeah.
But the line that Eric and I would quote after Jamie's an orphan, after that, second in this movie is "Shit, Earl, it's Ted Hollister."
Ted Hollister. Poor Ted Hollister.
Who died as he lived. Skulking around like a pervert in the
Everyone has a Halloween tradition, and that was Earl's. Or sorry, Ted. That was Ted's.
All right. You dumb son of a bitch. Okay. So Ted's dead. Basically the hysteria of the crowd and the people with guns is what Loomis feared in the first movie, someone getting killed by accident, even though that already happened with Ben Tramer and they didn't have a posse. But yeah, like you said, they try to atone for it at the end. They just get all murdered.
They do. Now we come to the scene that was the most uncomfortable to watch with my mom. Not so much because it seemed like there was going to be sex and nudity, although we don't get that. Mostly because of our friend Raphael and his reaction to this.
Yes. So here's the thing. We did see this with my good childhood friend Raphael, who Eric also knew in middle school, and who would go on later to become a roommate for 2 years of college. And when Raphael saw a hot chick on screen, Raphael became, I don't know, Jack Tripper. I don't know. He became like a cartoon wolf, like going, got like.
And again, we did see this movie with a very loud, boisterous crowd, and there were like older teens in the audience who were like, yeah, with their friends. But we're younger kids with my mom, but one of us, as she's taking her shirt off, is like, yeah, yes, oh yes, please. Just this running commentary of horniness that I'm like, can you maybe not?
Oh my God. But yeah, like you said, the crowd itself yeah, like
splashing water on his face.
Yeah, tugging on his collar, his tongue rolls out like it's a scroll. His eyes turn to hearts. And pop out of his head. It's very Roger Rabbit. So and so curiously enough, and this probably also added to the fact that it got PG-13 and needed gore added to make it R, is that we didn't get the breastises, we didn't get any sort of nudity in this, just sort of implied nudity. And
again, PG-13 originally.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And so the crowd was really let down because the crowd was really like, oh. All
right. This is the one part where they lost them.
And this is the part where, so everyone goes to the sheriff's house. Meeker takes Loomis, Rachel, and Jamie to his house, and Brady and Kelly are already there. And then he calls Deputy Logan over from the Carruthers house. They're all in the house. They lock it with a deadbolt. And this is where Michael, we assume, finds his way into the house via the attic, because that's all you need is like the spaces and the locations of these openings gets more and more ridiculous as the franchise goes on. Now, in the first movie, she closes the door behind her as she runs across the street, and then she notices a window maybe like 10 feet away is open. And so that's enough for us to be like, oh, he got in the house. Here, it's like when Brady's upstairs, like sealing the roof and something's open, and I'm like, all right. Like, I feel like it would have taken him a long time to find this particular entrance into the home, but
I don't know, he's just that good. Also, I wanted to mention Kelly's line about when she says, when it looks like Meeker might catch them, she goes, if he catches us like this, he's gonna skin you alive, for starters. And it's just like, wow, it's like cannibalism or something. Like,
well, then he straight up threatens Brady's life. She's not fucking around.
He does.
Cops do it by the book, Eric. He's like, if I catch you groping my daughter, he literally is like, I'm going to use that shotgun on you.
Yeah, right. I don't even care about Michael Myers.
I don't care about Michael Myers, my career, anything. I will blow your head off. So, then
I'm just thinking. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about if this movie just went off the rails.
It just went off the rails completely.
Meeker attacks Brady.
Meeker basically is downstairs. He's contacting state troopers. Again, more safety. And then we get like 30 minutes the state troopers are going to be here. Everything feels like they should be out of danger, but danger finds them. And at this point, Michael's already in the house. All it takes at this point is Loomis and Meeker leaving the house for different reasons. Loomis goes back to the Carruthers house. Meeker leaves when they killed Ted Hollister and learns that they're running around with guns, accidentally shooting townsfolk.
Yeah.
And so then we've got this dope Logan in a chair. we don't see him die, but when Kelly comes back in after having a spat with Rachel, when Kelly comes in with the coffee, it's Michael in the chair. It's a cool thing. She sees, I don't know what we really see. We always just see Logan's face and hand.
Yeah.
But he's dead. Then Michael, man, it would have been interesting if he actually just shot Kelly with a gun. But
right, because I think we've mentioned it's like Chucky is the only one of like our main player slasher killers who uses a gun, and I think that's because the size disadvantage. It's like he can use a gun, but none of these other guys have ever fired a gun. So it is funny when Michael stands up. First of all, Michael's had a lot of patience because we don't know how long he's been sitting there just waiting for someone to come up.
So well, this is his version of the. Remember, he did 2 pranks in previous movies. One was the ghost with the glasses. Second one was like, "Hey, I'm going to pretend I'm her boyfriend's hand, and she's gonna lick my thumb." And now this one is like, it's going to be so funny when Kelly comes back in with that Maxwell house, and I'm just sitting here, and she thinks I'm Logan. Oh boy! And I'm going to stand up. Guess what? Michael Myers. Boom.
Surprise! But yeah, he's holding that shotgun, and for a second, you might think he's going to fire it. But instead, he uses it in a way it was not designed for.
He impales her with it through the wall, hangs her up, kind of a la Halloween.
Yeah, and, like what's his face in Bob in Halloween.
And then we get the sort of the escape from the house, as well as the line, when Brady tries to get through the door and it's the deadbolt won't let him, and he's like, "We're locked in this house," which is a very ominous line. It makes me wish they were locked in the house longer, like as an actual premise for the movie, but it's only for like 7 more minutes or whatever, because they get out through the roof. Brady given a gun. Here's the thing. We can like come down hard on these guys for not like, oh, he didn't load the gun fast enough, or he didn't move away, like run up the stairs quicker,
Michael's walking slowly.
Put some distance between you and him if you're going to shoot him, because Michael gets there and he isn't able to get his shot off in the right way. But then if we think about it, like from our point of view as viewers, what would that have done? Michael isn't going to fall to, like, he's not going to get killed by this thing. Nothing's going to kill him. Even the end of this movie is one of the slightest Michael Myers, quote unquote, deaths in the franchise. The end of this, where they're all just shooting him and he falls in a pit. I feel like for Michael, that's Tuesday, right? Like, like that doesn't. It was cool ending the movie, but if you look at it, the grand scheme of the franchise, it feels very, very soft.
But Brady, Brady gets to go out, on a, for a scoundrel. He's, he keeps yelling to Rachel to save, get her and Jamie to safety. So he does like sacrifice himself, even though, he doesn't load the gun quickly enough for them to get away.
I do like that Jamie is pulling Rachel away. Like when he gets punched back to the wall, and he's like, "Run!" and Rachel's like, "No," and Jamie's like, "Let's get the fuck out of here!
Let's get the fuck out of here! He's dead." I do believe I remember them saying on one of the commentaries we're making of that a cool little moment was an unplanned moment, which is Sasha Jensen just, I think, had like a bunch of fake blood globbed up in his mouth, so that spit he does to the side when Michael's grabbing him, he spits blood out to the side. That was just Sasha Jensen did it, but it looked good and they kept it in. And then Michael does his new patented move, which is just my fingers, your face. And that's how I'm going to take you out.
It's effective. I like it more than
although Rachel has one very funny line. You just contextually, it's funny when she's just like, "Leave us alone," to Michael, and I kind of wish he'd just like, "Oh, sorry, I'll back off."
He's like, "Oh, I
like coming on too strong here.
I didn't mean to bother you." So, then they actually, after like scaling across the roof and trying to lower Jamie down, accidentally, Rachel actually falls, sort of a death fake out there. Jamie runs down the street, leading to what I remember as the biggest jump scare in this audience like in the movie theater audience, which is when Loomis comes up behind her and grabs her. I remember everyone was out of their seat for that movie. I also remember that, that crowd, people were just scaring each other in the crowd. Do you remember that?
I don't, but I can feel that.
We were seeing the movie and like people would like, probably some asshole boyfriends were scaring their girlfriends in the back, would like, "Ah," and someone would go, "Ah," like just out of context with the movie, just like on its own. They were having their own adventures.
There was a lot of
Maybe someone was dying.
People go into business for themselves in horror movies.
Stab premiere style. Oh yeah, it's like the Monday after Raw, or the Raw after Mania.
Right. I knew what you meant.
The Monday after Raw. You know what I mean?
That's the title of a movie. The roof scene is really cool. It's just something different in these type of movies what we hadn't seen. It also, it's funny because watching it, I feel like they didn't use safety regulations they would these days for Danielle Harris. She's probably, I know that she has a double,
yeah,
but there are parts where they're not using her double that they probably wouldn't these days. But no, it's a cool, tense, and just different. It feels different for one of these movies, but not in a way that like breaks the reality of the movie. That they're on that roof. I guess in the script it was going to be the house was going to be on fire, but that was beyond their budget.
Right.
But it works without the fire at that point.
I don't know why Loomis at this point is also like, "Where's the school?" I don't know why. He could have just said, "Where's another set we could go?" And so she takes him to the school where he sets the fire alarm. I don't know what's going on because that just seems like it would draw Michael to them, which it does, by the way. And it changes his hair to blonde. And then he throws Loomis through the door, and it's just the school part is just sort of like a little a middling part of the movie where it allows Rachel. Well, it allows you might, because it is saved by Rachel, who pops up.
It is weird because you might think this will be the finale of the movie, is like a standoff at the school, but it ends up not being.
Yeah, and at this point, Jamie, Loomis is gone. You think Jamie's on her own. All of a sudden, the strings in her legs don't work, and this is when Rachel gets to come in and be like, shoot him with a fire extinguisher. Wrestling street fight style. This is very like no DQ. He's going to bring out kendo sticks and tables next, but yeah, fire extinguisher to the face, allowing them to get out the front door and into the loving arms of Earl and Al and their friends. And this is when they decide to just hightail it out of Haddonfield, which is a great idea. And all these things should technically work. It's just that the movie's plot decides that Michael is always going to be there or get into a place that's safe or track down people who run away. And so he is actually on that truck and kills. So he comes up. It's not enough that he's like throwing them off the back of the truck. He's stabbing them too. Though this one guy he doesn't stab, you can make an argument that this guy actually lived. The really cool stunt throw here. Yeah. The one that he actually throws off the side of the truck, that stunt guy who lands, that was really well done. Mm-hmm. And then for Earl, though, it's ripping fingers meet face, as you said, just tearing into the sweet meat of Earl's turkey waddle and just sort of ripping his neck up.
And that was of course part of the reshoots. The Let's Get an R reshoots was Earl's death. Not as extensive as the thumb because it wasn't an entirely new scene, just like it was an insert they added. But I will say a fun fact behind the scenes is that the additional makeup, the Let's Make It Gorier makeup, was done by John Carl Buechler, who's got an interesting career because he was a makeup effects guy, but he also directed Friday the 13th Part 7 this same year. So it's like in this 1 year, he's like working on two of like the major slasher guys. And which is a shame because Friday the 13th Part 7 needed these gore scenes. Just a few of them added into it. That's one of the most infamously butchered, no pun intended, the series.
Yeah, it could have used an Earl neck rip or two.
And I'm sure he did it. He filmed it. They just didn't let him keep him in.
So then Michael's on the roof. Rachel's driving the truck at this point. It's very like TJ Hooker, and he's trying to get her, but she hits the brakes, and then she eventually hits him.
You son of a bitch! I always remember that part.
Yeah, she gets a die, you son of. She gets a cool Jaws line, and then leaning more into that weird possible psychic connection between Jamie and Michael is the fact that like she is compelled to sort of go and check on him and
hold his hand,
even though minutes ago she was shrieking in terror as he was stalking her, through multiple. But now
buildings. When he's down briefly, she's compelled to go and hold his hand. And based on what happens a few minutes later at the very end of this movie, some, it can be argued that we're meant to believe that something happened there, a transference, if you will,
that began in the
switch.
costume shop, or even began previous to this with her dreams, like him showing up and the ambulance and all that. So he sits up, but at that point, Sheriff Meeker is back
and he's got some firepower.
I don't know if those are state troopers or not. They didn't look like they were dressed like cops, but it was enough people shooting Michael. I remember afterwards when we were walking out, or did Raphael say this or some other kid was like, I like that dance he did at the end, where it's like they thought Michael was dancing because of the way he was moving when he was being shot.
He's like, Raphael's like, I like two things: that girl's boobs and
Michael's dance. Both of them are cool as heck. Yeah. Two thumbs way up for this guy. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So they shoot him, and then the ground collapses, and that's enough for Loomis.
Where they are, like, I'm not quite clear, like, because there's stuff around them. I'm like, where are they? What's collapsing? Is this a mine shaft or what exactly?
Well, I mean, I think we'll find out, right?
I know, yes, but it just, in the moment, rewatching it even now, I'm like,
I mean, there's stuff everywhere. You go off the road, Eric, there's stuff.
I guess there's.
You look over there's stuff.
But you're right. Like they shoot the shit out of him, but since we've seen him be shot so many times before, you feel like something else should have happened. And he falls, but we don't see the fall, so you would think they'd go for something else.
But like burying him, I get. But nothing makes me think he's dead, or like most he's just trapped because of all the stuff on top of him. It's sort of like what they did on the Last Man Standing match with Brock Lesnar, where they just put everything on top of him and like just keep him down. But again, it's enough for Loomis because he's like Michael Myers in hell, buried and where he belongs, blah blah blah. So good enough for Loomis, at least. It's good enough for me in this movie. But then comes the stinger ending, which is amazing. Left the audience just shitting themselves with their mouths wide open, which is a mask goes on, a POV starts, and
a callback to the opening scene of the original movie.
It's like the first original movie, and this time it's Rachel's mom who gets stabbed while drawing a bath, and we look up Loomis looks up the stairwell and sees Jamie Lloyd, little Jamie, with the clown mask on and bloody scissors, and he's like, no.
Tries to shoot her.
Yeah, Meeker stops him from shooting her dead, and
then everyone sees her, like, Rachel and her dad, but Loomis just collapses into a ball, whimpering behind them.
It's almost because he knows that something's been passed on, right? Like that the evil still lives, and now it is basically infected this little girl that he kind of knew more than he did Michael, because he never knew Michael previous to when he killed his sister.
Yeah.
But he knew, and he was trying to help this girl, and now she's like, he assumes this shell housing nothing but pure evil like Michael was. So he's distraught, he's defeated because Michael is gone, but Michael still lives, really, right? And this is a great ending. A big solid argument for why the series could have ended with this, or at least this time.
Oh yeah,
I feel like this Halloween timeline with this movie, like this movie,
Halloween 2 and Halloween 4. As much as Halloween 2's, I think to both of us, obviously the weak link there. Like, this ending gives it. If this were a trilogy, I know that's funny because Halloween 3 is in the middle of that, doing its own thing. But if this were a trilogy and this was the end of the series, just the full circle. And, again, even if he didn't get as big a death as he could have, Michael is dead, but the evil continues, ending pretty cool. Way to wrap it all up.
Yeah, awesome ending. New sequel idea. Like, once Halloween Ends comes out and we close off the Michael and Laurie
Blumhouse
story, era once more. I think there's I always thought that there was something to mine from after, decades later, like Michael was in the first movie, Jamie, 5 and 6 don't exist of these movies. You start with 4, you spring off that, she's the new Michael Myers. Danielle Harris has been acting ever since. She's been in a ton of things. So she's the new Michael Myers.
People may know her from either Last Boy Scout has Bruce Willis's daughter, for her recurring role on Roseanne as Darlene's pot smoking friend, which she reprised on The Conners a couple years ago. So yeah, she's
or
given
like a ton of like, she is also a scream queen in her own right, as far as like doing a lot of. She was in Free Willy and Daylight, and she was actually in Marked for Death. That's how she knew that. Which came after this from the same director,
the
Steven Seagal
yeah.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she does a podcast now. She's in all the Hatchet movies, which I haven't seen, and she was also in yeah, a lot of things. Anyway, she was in a movie with Kane. That's all I remember. I don't remember what that movie was, but she was in a movie with WWE's Kane. And but yeah, I think that there's an interesting thing to note about how like they could have turned, like, basically have a Michaela Myers, if you will, like a female slasher, as far as like a Jason or a Michael Myers type slasher, which is to say a moving golem, like that just can't die. And I think that would have been cool, though. Won't give too much away here, but Danielle Harris still goes forward and does more in the Halloween franchise, even after the next two movies. So
yeah, I mean, and the next one, I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about how Halloween 5 is the only time until this year with Ends where we got Halloween movies. Well, I should say Michael Myers movies in back-to-back years, because of course Halloween 3 did come out a year after Halloween 2. But this story, because this movie was a big hit, it was #1 for 2 weeks. Made more than Halloween 3 on a very low budget. So it was a success as far as, mission accomplished. Return of Michael Myers. People are happy. People are really into this Jamie character. So we're going to go right into the next one, and it was one of those very quick turnarounds. And the poster for 5 is like, her wearing the clown outfit, which she doesn't wear in Halloween 5, but the poster, pulled off of the fact that people were really into Halloween 4. And we'll talk next week about how things turned out with all that.
All right. That was Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and thanks for joining us. Yeah, go.
I'm sorry. Go. I need to throw this in now, because I'm going to try to do this as we go along. I just have to mention that the insanity of that one script I mentioned that they go through in the book, the early script by a different writer that involved all the returning characters all teaming up and culminated in a big showdown at a drive-in movie theater, where Michael was going to show up and murder every single person watching a horror movie, like go car to car, no one's noticing, and he kills every single person. Then all our heroes are going to show up: Lindsay, Tommy, Brackett, Loomis, and some other new characters. And then they just, it's funny how the book just kind of throws this in nonchalantly, but how Michael was going to be surrounded by cops, including Brackett, and they were going to shoot him a bunch of times. And then Michael, when he's shot, grows to be 14 feet tall. Somehow he becomes Mega Michael.
You know what? I don't hate it. I'm into it.
Right. So that was an alternate version of Halloween 4. There you go.
Pretty good. And he's like embiggen. And he's
pretty much.
All right. Until next time, everyone, everything is possible, but nothing is real. Jamie is an orphan, and Shakma.
Shakma.